Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of Kinstretch class delivered to wherever you are in the world. Today we're going to work on some hip external rotation from a different setup than you might normally do. And you may want some extra padding for your knee, so having a towel or a throw pillow in case you're not on a super squishy surface, being able to double up your yoga mat, something like that. We're going to start warming up our spines. So we can bring some awareness to that stuff. Whenever we're working on hip stuff, the spine and the hip often couple. So we want to make sure we're separating those two functions. Come on into hands and knees position, nice quadruped. And then start by tucking your tail under, slowly rounding up through your spine, segment by segment. Moving through your low back, middle back, upper back. Finally feeling the neck join in, so your chin tucks to your chest. And then poke your tailbone up to the ceiling. Start finding a little extension or arch in your low back, middle back, upper back, working your way through those segments. Good. Now, stay in your arch for a second. Pretend I've super glued your hands and your knees to the floor. And you're going to push the floor apart, hands forward, knees back. And keep that pressure as you start to tuck your tail under. So now you're working against your own internal resistance to light up more of the muscles that help you control this spinal movement. Keep pushing the floor apart, pushing the floor apart, pushing the floor apart as you round. Take your time. Once you get fully round, pause and now pinch the floor together, hands towards knees, knees towards hands. Through that tension, poke your tailbone up to the ceiling and start to find your way into spinal extension, one vertebra at a time. Nicely. Very, very nice. Keep working with that idea. When you find your full arch, pause, push the floor apart, hands forward, knees and toes if they're tucked under, pushing back. Rounding through that internal tension. Perhaps clarifying which muscles do this rounding of the spine job. And then once you're fully round as you can be, pinch the floor. Hands towards knees, knees towards hands. Poke your tailbone up through that tension towards the sky. Reach your belt buckle towards the floor. Reach your belly button towards the floor. Reach your lowest ribs towards the floor. Bottom of your sternum, middle of your chest. Finally feel those collarbones start to lift, throat lifts, and the face comes up. Good morning, or whatever time of day it is where you are. Give that a rest. All right, so we're gonna warm up our hip rotation. I'm gonna have Will lie on his back. Go ahead and lie on your back comfortably. You're gonna have your knees bent and your feet flat. If it's comfortable, you can straighten out your left leg, and then we're gonna bring that right leg into a tabletop position. We want a good amount of tension through the midsection. You're gonna try to keep your knee fixed in space and just rotate your thigh bone and your hip socket so that your foot comes across your body, and then rotate the other way so your foot starts to push out to the side. If you'd like, you can put one of your own fingertips on your kneecap like I'm doing with Will. There he goes. Just so you have a little more awareness coming your way of keeping that knee still in space. I don't want the knee to go across, back and forth. I just want a nice twist and rotation of that thigh bone. Good. 15 more seconds here, wringing out as much rotation as you can get in one direction, and then as much rotation as you can get in the opposite direction. Last 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Good. Set that down. Switch sides. Good abdominal brace. Other leg strong into the floor, whether it's bent or straight, and then rotate. Getting as much rotation as you can in one direction, and then as much rotation as you can in the other direction. Keep going, you're on the clock. One side will not be the same as the other, so see what this leg has to offer. Might have more than the other leg, might have less. The other big cheat to watch out for with this particular setup, as you run into the end of your rotation, your waist might try to lengthen or shorten to give you a little bit more. So like especially as Will goes foot out to the side and internal rotation, that hip can really try to hike. We don't want that. So keep both sides of the waist long. Just twist the thigh bone in the hip socket. Whatever amount you've got for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Set that foot down. Nice. So then we're just going to do a little teaching moment before we get into our next setup. So we're going to be working on winding up that external rotation in a second altogether. And one of the ways that we can help use this to create more space in the back of the deep hip capsule is to have the thigh bone press down into that stuff. So if I had the luxury to come work with all of you, we could do this like this, apply a little pressure, get Will into his nice external rotation, and then he could pails and rails from here. A way that you can apply this same pressure for yourself is to use the floor. So let me have you flip on over here, Will. Let's do the leg that's closer to them, actually, to start. Yeah, great. So just so we're all on the same page here, we're going to have our left leg bent and our right leg straight. That left leg, you're going to wind up as much external rotation as you can get. We're looking for a stretch somewhere deep in the cheek, deep in the hip stuff. You may not find that right away, and that's okay. The other thing to search for here is to shift your hips a little bit to the left. Good. See if that opens up a little something. And then the other variable you can play with is like a mini cat-cow. So Will can tuck his tail under a little bit. He can lift his tail feathers to the sky. And all the while thinking that the floor is pushing that thigh bone deeper into the hip stuff. So hunt that around. See if you can find a good stretch there. And then we want to gently bring the right knee down to block the position of the left ankle. So you're in a little bit of a pretzel here. Now, if it would feel better, check in with yourself to come down to your forearms here, you can. If you're doing okay on your hands, you're great. On the forearms, you can rest your forehead, which is nice. And keep thinking that you want to find a deep stretch in the cheek, using the floor to push that thigh bone up, up, up into the deep hip stuff. Take a few breaths here. Oh, life is good. Working on hip space. Good, keep breathing. No need to move. Just want you to try to relax the tissues of the hip that are feeling stretched. Again, you may not feel a super intense stretch here. That doesn't mean you need to move into a more extreme position. It means you need to wait yourself out a little bit and allow your tissues to feel a stretch. Oftentimes our end range positions are really well protected, which makes them hard to find. So we need to just be more patient than our nervous system's protective mechanisms. Good, very nice. Okay, nothing is actually going to move as we do our pails. So we need to give a little bit of abdominal brace through the torso. And then that left leg, you're going to try gently to unwind it back to parallel. But your right leg is in the way. So your left ankle is going to be pushing a little bit against your right thigh. You're going to gradually ramp that up to 20%. Gradually ramp up to 40%. This should feel like it engages that deep stretching stuff in the hip. Gradually ramp up to 60%. Good, 80%. Hold, breathe. 5, 4, 3, 2, stay in position, stay tense through your torso, fade away that pressure into your ankle, and now try to reverse the rotation. Could you rotate that left leg into more external rotation, which might bring your left ankle off of your right thigh or towards your right elbow. Probably nothing moves, but maybe it does. Fight for that for 5, 4, 3, 2, stay in position, 1, slowly relax that down. Good. Take a breath. See if that effort clarified where your stretch is in the hip, and if you can lean into that stretch sensation and increase it in any way. Make micro adjustments to get deeper in. We're just going to do one more slightly shorter set here, but ramping up to a good solid intensity. Make any micro adjustments to be more comfortable in your upper body, and then begin. Give me a good brace through your midsection. Start to try to unwind the left leg back to parallel, but the right leg is in the way. Ramping up to 20%, 40%, 60%, tensing your body to match that 60% effort. Ramp up to 80%, and then go ahead and give it your greatest, safest effort. Something that feels very challenging, but very safe for you. Could be anywhere from 81% all the way up to 100. You decide. Maintain. 5, 4, 3, 2. Keep your body on tension. 1, fade away the effort of the leg, and then try to rotate in the opposite direction, twisting your thigh bone such that your left ankle might come closer to your right armpit. Nothing's expected to move as we're close to end range, but that's the trajectory. 5, 4, 3, 2, stay in position. 1, slowly relax. Beautiful. All right, unwind yourself from that there, pretzel.
Good morning.
Good morning. And then we'll set it up on the other side. So you're going to stretch your left leg out straight, just get it out of the way for the beginning, and then twist your right thigh bone into as much external rotation as you can, which will mean that right foot comes under your left leg somewhere, depending on how much range you have. Hunting around for a stretch here, make sure you've got pressure into your right knee. You're pushing it into the floor so you feel like the floor is pushing that thigh bone up into your hip. You can lean a little bit to your right to hunt around for your stretch. Yeah. And then you can also do a little pelvic tilt. Tuck your tail under, lift your tail feathers. Won't be big here, but it might help you really clarify where that stretch is. Once you find the best stretch you can, you're going to block your position, bringing that long straight leg down so that the knee blocks the ankle. And then if it feels better, coming out to your forearms so you can camp out. Breathe here. One hip is not like the other, so your stretch might be in a slightly different place on this side. If you're feeling any pinch in the front side of the hip, we want to back off to a position where there is no pinch. That might mean that you don't feel a powerful stretch yet in the back spot. That's okay. You'll still get benefit from doing the PAILs and rails work with us. And as you go, you may start to be able to clarify where that stretch is, but it's going to take some time. Deep breath in, deep breath out, making any last micro adjustments to feel really clear in that deep in the cheek stretch, and then we'll begin. First things first, brace your midsection so that there's going to be no change in the shape of your spine as we start to do our PAILs effort. Then start to try to unwind that right leg such that it would come back to parallel, which means your right ankle is going to press against your left thigh, gradually ramping that up to 20%, 40%, 60%. Make sure your body's matching that 60% effort, and then crank everybody up together to 80%. Hold. Breathe. Maintain. 5, 4, 3, 2, stay in position. 1, reinvest in your midsection being braced, and then try to reverse the rotation of that leg. Can you pull your right ankle closer to your left armpit by spinning your right thigh bone in the opposite direction that you were just working? 5, 4, 3, 2, stay in position. 1, slowly let that effort melt away. Check in with your breath. Make sure you're breathing. If you forgot to breathe for a little bit, take some now. Check in with using the floor to push your right thigh bone deeper into your butt cheek. Make any last micro adjustment shifts to feel more comfortable and powerful in this position, and or to feel a better stretch. Round 2. Deep breath in. Pack some air down, create a good brace. Rib and hip distance isn't going to change. Start to try to unwind that right leg, but the left leg is in the way. Gradually ramping up that effort, 20%, 40%, 60%. Body tense to match that 60% effort. Everything you can find squeezed and recruited to send help, 80%. And then give it your greatest, safest effort. Maintain. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Stay in position and reverse that rotation. Keeping both sides of the waist long, trying to pry the ankle off of the knee. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Slowly relax. And let that go. You can come out of position. Next, we're going to come back to the lying on the back position so that we can save and upload the changes that we made to our hips with some more of those capsule cars or axial rotations. This time, we're going to add a little element of challenge by asking you to do that with a straight leg. If that feels too intense, you can roll it back to the bent leg position that we did in our warm-up. So getting this leg straight and as high as you can bring it. Other leg can plant into the ground, bent or straight, see what feels best for you. Good abdominal brace. And then you're going to try to rotate thigh bone and socket in one direction, max that out, and then rotate in the opposite direction. You're on the clock. Keep finding as much rotation of that thigh bone in the socket as you can. You can play around with flexing your foot, see if that gives you a feeling of more strength through the leg, i.e. pulling the toes towards the nose. Beautiful. Breathing around that nice abdominal brace, keeping both sides of the waist evenly long, no hip hike. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Bring it on down. Good. Shake out. Release your tension for a moment so that you can reinvest in it. Brace the midsection. Lift that new leg. Straight leg, really actively straight knee, and then rotate in one direction and the other. Whichever direction you picked is fantastic. We don't all need to be doing exactly the same thing at the same time, although it'd be amazing if we could coordinate that. Rotate and rotate. Good. You're halfway, a little bit past. Reinvest. Are you still braced through your midsection? Are you keeping a nice same distance between the top of your pelvis and the bottom of your ribs? And are you wringing out as much rotation as you can of the thigh bone in the hip socket? 3, 2, and 1. Fantastic. Okay, we're going to use that same axial rotation work, but now in a much more exciting and challenging position. So you're going to come back to quadruped, hands and knees. We're going to try to get a little more work for the gluteal tissue. we want to make sure the back does not change shape. So your spine is going to stay neutralish. So first things first, take a deep breath in, pack some air down, create a good abdominal brace, and feel like if you had a little brother or sister around, they wouldn't be able to budge you, right? I'm trying to move Will a little bit. He's staying super steady. From here, you're going to straighten out one leg. You're going to float the toes off the ground and try to find a nice contraction in your glute tissue there. You can help this along by reaching your heel away from you. Make sure you're still braced through your midsection. And now try to find that same rotation. Twist the thigh bone in one direction, twist the thigh bone in the other direction. You're on the clock. Strong, straight arms pressing into the ground. Good. Wring it out. It's not going to be a lot, probably way less than you had in the other position, but capture as much as you can of that twisting thigh bone in the socket. 3, 2, 1, and bring it in. Excellent. Reinvest. Brace your midsection. Strong, stiff arm pushing away of the floor. No one should be able to move you. Stretch that new leg long and then hover the toes off the ground. Good. And rotate. Twisting the thigh bone in the socket. Keeping your belt buckle staring at the floor. Especially as you twist your big toes out to the side, your belt buckle might try to sneak a peek in that same direction. Don't let it. Your t-shirt logo, your belt buckle, staring straight ahead at the floor, and then you're just getting as much twist through your thigh bone as you can for 10 more seconds. Life is good. Glutes are burning, hopefully. 3, 2, 1, bring it in. Good. All right. Give your wrists a little bit of a break if you need to. For this next set, we're going to invite you to come down to your forearms. And if it feels better for you to be on your wrists, you still can. That's a great option. From here, we want to, again, brace the midsection. We're going to go back to our first leg. You're going to stretch it out straight. You're going to float the toes off the ground. Try to find a good amount of engagement in your glute stuff. And then you're going to draw small circles with your heel, like you're tracing around a tennis ball. Nice, actively straight knee. You got it. No movement in the spine. Keep tracing for 5, 4, 3, 2, pause, reverse direction, trace, small circle. Best you can, a circle. Sometimes it will not be like a circle if you're new to this work. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and bring it down. Woo! Those are no joke. Take a little rest, let your body tension relax, and then reinvest for the other leg. Brace your midsection, feel solid over those elbows, forearms, stretch your new leg straight, and lift off. Find a good contraction of the glute first, and then start your circles. Working for time here, no need to count the circles. Whichever direction you picked, we'll call it clockwise, keep going in that same direction. 3, 2, pause, reinvest in a straight leg and reverse the direction of your small circles. That's it. Circle. Good. Yes, Will's doing such a good job of this. Midsection stays braced. Belt buckle staring at the floor. 5. Come on. 4. Small circles. 3, 2, 1. And bring it in. All right. We will call that rump roasted.
Yeah.